Has a chainsaw ever surprised you?
Yeah, I don't know if it was the chainsaw or if it was myself, but I'm surprised every time the bar nuts fall off or the chain, you throw a chain or...
Every time I put the chain on backwards, maybe.
Yeah, when it's not cutting. And
that never happens. I've never done that. You can't
figure out why it's not cutting. Yeah. I mean, I've been surprised multiple times with the chainsaw in my hand.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any big story or any particular situation come to mind?
Oh, I mean, well, the last time it happened to me, I really made a fool of myself with the classic move of dumping fuel down your back, and it was the social situation that made it funnier.
Yeah. Was that just a fuel cap just not getting on right kind of thing?
Yeah, fueling the saw at the jump spot, and whether I'd like to blame inoperable caps, but I can't say that it wasn't just me not putting it on right.
Sure.
But yeah, I throw the saw over my shoulder and hike up to the fire and tie in with people that I would like to make a good first impression on. And the first thing they noticed is that there's a bunch of oil on my, all down my back.
Yeah. I'd like to say I've never been there, but I think I have, and plenty of others have as well, for sure. Well, good. That's what we're talking about today, chainsaws. This is the Wildland Fire Lessons Learned Center podcast. I'm Alex Victoria. I'm the field operations specialist here at the Lessons Learned Center. And the other dude over there is Travis Dotson. Travis, who are you?
I work at the Lessons Learned Center as well. My title is Analyst.
Okay. You analyze. And we're going to talk about some analysis here shortly. Here we are. It's in the midst of fire season 2016. We are almost halfway through Dirty August, hashtag Dirty August. Give us some data, Travis. Where are we at this season for incidents involving chainsaws?
We are, well, that's one of the things I realized yesterday, that comparatively we're a little bit above where we've been in the past. And again, I have to qualify all this stuff. It could be that we're just getting really good at reporting, or it could be that we're really focused right now on certain hot topics, if you will. Chainsaws and fuel geysers in particular are on our radar, on everybody's radar, just not, because there's been some high-profile instances. But by the numbers, to answer your question, we're at, I think right now we've got a total of, I don't have those numbers right up, but we were somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 reported incidents so far this year. Is that right? And 17% of those are chainsaw ops, categorized as chainsaw ops. Another, for what it's worth, when you combine those with driving, just chainsaws and driving this year, we're at those account for nearly half of all the reports we've gotten this year.
Okay, so what does that mean compared to years past? Where might you expect those kind of numbers to be in a norm?
The 5-year average for the past 2010 through 2015, I guess that'd be 6 years, was that usually settles out if you combine those two, driving and chainsaw, which are always big, but the combination of those usually sit at about 35%, and so we're above.
Sure, and whether if that's a real representation of what's happened, or if that's just what we're focused on for one reason or another, and those are the kind of reports we're getting.
And by the end of the year, the numbers are going to be different.
Sure.
There's a lot of reporting to be done between now and December.
Yeah, when the snow comes, it will come. So all that said, we've got some numbers. You've got maybe a couple of lessons that start to emerge out of what we've seen this season and in seasons past. What What's the big message for folks out there in the woods right now?
Well, what struck me about it right away was just that the minute you pick up a chainsaw, you're in a new realm. You've just taken on more exposure, and I think that's the thing that I was thinking back to the times that I pick up a chainsaw. I don't see it that way in the moment. I don't see running a saw as putting me in a new level of risk or whatever. It's just a tool. It's just something we use. But the thing is, it's a small motor running a sharp chain, and then what we do with it is also another level of exposure. I mean, falling trees is, when you look at all the chainsaw incidents that we have, the past 7 years, 42% of chainsaw ops reports are hit by tree.
Okay. And what does that mean? What's a hit by tree report?
It's a report where somebody got hit by a tree.
Yeah. Okay.
Now it is interesting, if I can see if I can't mess this up or make it unclear. Of all the hit by tree reports that we get, half of them, and this is pretty steady. It's always, a couple percentage points on either side, but half of them do not involve a chainsaw.
Okay.
So that's just people out mopping up, hiking, driving even. People get hit by trees while they're driving down the road.
Right.
That happens.
Okay.
And so, but the other half of them involve chainsaw ops.
Okay.
So when you look at just chainsaw ops reports, almost half of those are hit by tree. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of them are getting cut by the chainsaw. That's actually the next most common report. And then the rising star is these fuel geyser instances.
Sure.
Okay. Not always burn injuries.
Yep.
But the high profile ones are burn injuries.
Right. What's just for those of out there who've never heard the term fuel geyser before? Sum that up for us if you can. What's a fuel geyser?
When you open your tank, your fuel tank, and fuel sprays everywhere.
Right.
Really far. I think one of the ones most recently was, I don't know, there was 8 foot spray to where the ignition source was or something like that. So basically you've got, soft fuel, which is very obviously flammable, spraying out. And if it comes in contact with a heat source, whether that's the muffler on the saw,
right,
or open flame, then it ignites. And usually when fuel sprays everywhere, some of it gets on the sawyer or the swamper.
Right.
And when fuel ignites, it burns.
Yeah. That's a bad deal.
Super bad deal.
Yeah.
And not every fuel geyser incident reported to us results in a burn injury. It's recognized now as, a big enough deal that people are reporting just the instance of fuel spraying everywhere, even though nobody got hurt.
Right.
But
yeah.
So yeah, it's just, I think the kind of the big message is chainsaws. Remember that chainsaws are, I don't know how to, some people would take exception to saying chainsaws are dangerous. It's
sure.
It's a near and dear argument for a lot of people that no, saws aren't dangerous. Chainsaw operators are dangerous. And that's obviously a touchy subject with some folks, but the bottom line is I think there's an added level of exposure that we take on, not just because now you have a spinning sharp chain near you and fuel and you're doing cutting big trees down or whatever. It's just another level of exposure that we take on.
Sure.
It's just like driving.
Sure. So what do you say to the saw operator out there who's maybe somebody who's on a hotshot crew and has been running a saw for years and has maybe literally never had something bad to happen to them. What is your data? What is this season's experiences? What is last 5 or 7 years? What's the message to that saw operator? Is there one?
I think there's several. There's the most common kind of folklore around complacency. Mm-hmm. That confidence can very easily become complacent. I don't know if I for whatever reason I'm not a fan of complacency, or maybe the way that we talk about it as if it's aberrant, as if it's not normal.
Sure, right.
I think that's just, I drive differently now than I did when I was 16.
Right. Time on task.
Sure.
It affects your perception of risk and hazard for sure.
But there is something to be said that comfort can be dangerous.
Sure.
And if you're a fan of the slide tray view of the world, mm-hmm. that that Sawyer that you're describing is just building, positive all the stuff, mm-hmm. having not had hits or near hits, mm-hmm. is potentially a disservice.
Sure.
But and then the other thing is, something's changed.
Sure. What do you mean?
Something has changed. We didn't used to have the fuel geysers. Mm-hmm. That didn't happen. It was just, at least it wasn't reported, which makes me feel like, I don't feel like all of a sudden we just decided to start reporting these things.
Right.
And I know there's all kinds of drama around the manufacturer, because it's one type of saw, and whether or not the fuel caps are to blame because they've changed fuel caps and all mm-hmm. that stuff, which puts us into this whole dilemma of an engineering fix or the agency responsibility versus bad saw operators, and
sure.
making that a black and white argument,
mm-hmm.
as if it's one or the other.
Right.
And the dilemma that comes along with, well, we put the video out and it tells people.
Sure. We told them.
Yeah, we told them.
We told them. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And the people on the other end going, hey, there's something wrong. This shouldn't be happening.
Right, yeah.
Can't you just get in the laboratory and fix it?
Right, exactly.
And all the while, everybody has the expectation that on Division Delta, somebody's going to pull cord.
Yeah.
Today.
Rope-a-dope. Here we go.
Yeah. There's somebody's cutting right now.
Yep. As you and I sit here in this office.
Yeah, exactly.
In our shorts and flip-flops.
Drinking coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody's out there.
Somebody's doing what we have long since forgotten how to do. Yeah. That's good. Okay, well, let's just a little more on this fuel geyser thing here. Again, is the message as simple as, don't believe it. Don't believe your slides. It can happen to you. You can be,
I think that
how do you say it?
It gets overused that, everybody says, when they're the ones that it has just happened to.
Right.
They say, well, yeah, I just never thought it would happen to me until it did. So believe it can happen to you. But that's we've been saying that for a long time.
Right.
I'm not convinced that, I've never heard somebody tell me that and me walk away going, you know what? You're right. It can happen. And then,
sure.
And then go actually do something different.
Mm-hmm.
I've toyed with the idea of be afraid to open your the fuel tank on your saw.
Right.
Just because it gets people kind of, you shouldn't be afraid of things. People say, well, don't be afraid of the saw, or don't be afraid of the horse, or don't be afraid of the tree, but have a healthy respect.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's just maybe we just don't like the idea of being afraid. But when you look down at you're running the saw, and for whatever reason, you're going to open the fuel cap.
Mm-hmm.
That moment, that's the moment that you're making a much more crucial decision than you realize you are.
Right.
In especially in certain instances.
Yeah, which seems weird because of all the hazard that maybe operating a saw presents. You might assume that filling it full of gas is just it's a routine thing and it's no big deal. And just I've done this. I mean, there's folks out there who've done it thousands of times and had no bad outcome. So yeah, it's kind of a funny thing to think about, that opening the fuel tank might be the the thing that gets you.
Yeah, and that's hard to train because you've done that so many times, like you said. And literally, I think the way the saws are set up.
Right.
I mean, we've all done that motion, right? Where
you've got us. Yeah.
It's so easy to flip that saw over, and there the caps are looking at you. You're looking down at them.
Yep, they're looking right up at you. Yep, both of them.
And whether you're just gonna pop it real quick to vent it,
mm-hmm.
Just because you think it's vapor locked, or you just want to see how much fuel's in there.
Mm-hmm.
Physically, it's possible to do that with very little thought, especially when you've built muscle memory.
Mm-hmm.
That is just and. We all get that feeling when the saw kind of feels like an extension of our arm, and it's just, you feel like you're in the zone or something like that.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah. And then that being part of that zone, maybe the zone's not always the greatest thing.
Yeah, right.
And somehow getting that message out there that opening that fuel cap is potentially a bad deal, as evidenced by a number of people in the freaking, burn center.
Right. Yeah.
It's scary. It's scary. And whether it's trying to retrain your whole process, I was thinking about, if I was running a crew, what would I be doing? What would I be telling my folks? And whether it's, hey, I mean, one of the early instances we had of this happening, it was just a fuels crew that it happened to, and their suggested fix, their change on their crew, because they had somebody get sprayed in the eyes, and luckily it was only fuel in their eyes.
Right. Yeah. They were out doing project work. Is that right?
Yeah. And I don't want to diminish that. It's only when you compare it to the person that got flames in their lungs,
right?
Because fuel sprayed into their face and into their mouth and
down their throat.
Their throat. I mean, that's horrific.
Yeah,
it's horrific. But anyway, back to this fuels crew.
Mm-hmm.
Their suggestion, what their internal fix was, pack a rag in the saw kit,
mm-hmm.
and it's just standard practice to throw the rag over the top of the cap when you open it.
Right.
And that wasn't a solution we generated.
Right.
That's just somebody out there in the field doing what we do best, which is generating solutions,
right.
To things we're going to encounter.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, eventually we're going to get to a point where this isn't a big issue. But between now and then,
right.
Like I said, tomorrow in Division Delta, man, somebody pulling cord,
mm-hmm.
And they're going to have to refuel.
Right.
And so that back to, if I was running a crew, man, that'd be really tempting to say, look, this is how we do things on this crew.
Mm-hmm.
We put a rag over the top of the fuel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one more thing that you have to tell people, hey, if I see you if I see you opening the fuel tank without a rag on top of it,
right,
you're going to be pushing the ground.
Sure.
I mean, well, on my crew anyway. Maybe that's not how things go these days, but
yeah.
That's one approach.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is just trying to convince 20-year-olds to
mm-hmm.
to be cautious. Good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly.
I know when I was running a saw. Yeah. So it's back to that dilemma, the message of it. I for some reason, I hesitate to say be afraid to open your fuel tank, but that's kind of what I'm saying.
Right.
Be cautious.
Okay.
And the more standardized you can make your practice, the more likely you are to just do it in every instance rather than certain instances that need it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The power of habit there, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Travis, thanks for your time. Thanks for your views. We'll hear from you more down the road. For those of you out there, if you've got a comment on this, a question, let us know. Leave a comment for us. Be sure to share this podcast with all your homies. Check us out at wildfirelessons.net. The reports that Travis referenced are in the incident review database. If you've never been there, check it out. It's right one of the top menus there in the gray bar, the incident review database. That's where all the reports we get go. If you want to get email updates from us, check us out on the homepage, wildfirelessons.net. And if you want to see when new reports get posted, when Two More Chains gets produced and released, hit the What's New button, subscribe there. We're on Facebook, we do the Twitter, and we've got a YouTube channel. Just search for Wildfire Lessons Center, Wildfire Lessons Learn Center, in any of those platforms. If you got something you want to chat about, let us know in the comments below. Another issue you want us to talk about, a question you have, again, leave us a comment and we'll try to get to it. Thanks very much for your time. Have a great day.